you could start with the idea of horizontal movement, so shifting your weight. So basically shifting from one foot to the other. And that can be sideways or in a different stance, moving horizontally. And there'll be different exercises that relate to that. So one of them is like you're pushing an oar or rowing, pushing and pulling. So that's a horizontal movement. You could do that with one hand, push and pull, or just bring the hand back, or with two hands. And with the other leg forward, you've got horizontal movement. When we push with one hand, it'll tend to add in this kind of spiral or turning movement as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. So then another horizontal movement is just in a parallel stance, like you're pushing something sideways. So that's a kind of movement pattern you'll see circling the arms. But if you imagine you're pushing, like pushing a door or something. Or you could be pulling or moving the arm the other way. Still with this kind of horizontal direction, just for a simple map of movement. We've also got things like this, so that's two hands moving horizontally, expanding sideways. There I'm starting to do vertical movement, so vertical is just up and down. So from your feet, rising and sinking. So we can use the Karate Kid for some of these movements. So that's like painting the fence, or the hand moving up and down, and the beginning of the form, that's the beginning of Tai Chi, is a kind of vertical movement. So rising and sinking. And there's different elements to this we'll talk about later in different classes. Just get the basic idea of in your center, rise up and sink down. And it doesn't matter where the feet are, so the feet can be in this stance and I could still move in a vertical movement, staying in my center for now and just feeling this rising and sinking. Pushing up from the feet or sitting down. Just be aware of the crown of the head, so the two ends of the body are the vertical ends of the structure as well. Could also be on one leg, a feeling of rising and sinking on one leg. Later when we practice sort of stepping exercise, we have that staying in the center of one foot and rising and sinking. Try the other leg. So staying, not shifting the weight forward and back, staying in the back leg. That could also be more feeling it from the front foot as well. So if we're standing like that, the other leg behind, just feel it kind of rising up and down on the front leg. One side or the other. Okay, so that's basic horizontal, vertical. Then you've got rotation. So simple movements like this, we're turning the body. And we're looking for the turning in the hips or the qua. And not twisting the legs at the ankles so much, more stability in the feet and turning from the hips. And we'll have a lot of different variations of these. So one is just this one, wrapping the arms around. So we're in a parallel stance. I could also have the front stance or the bow stance and do the same type of movement. Again, just keep the stability in the feet and try and turn from the hips. It's a bit more difficult in this position. Hands can do different things, so like that movement, swinging forward and back and trying to turn the hips. Doing it on the other side, so you just be centered in your feet for now. We're obviously going to combine movement, so the horizontal movement we're saying combines with the turning, but just try and isolate that for a moment, that rotation movement. It can also be on one leg, so turning with the weight on the back leg. And just being careful with your knee, so not doing it not too much swinging of the arms because it might pull on the knee. So just quite a light movement in the upper body, focus on the hip. So we're turning on one leg. You can also try that with more of the weight on the front leg, maybe on the ball of the back foot, just a slight turning with the weight on the front leg. So this movement we'll see in Tai Chi quite a lot when we step at 90 degrees. So being able to turn here. And if you look at the knee, as I turn, I kind of fold and open at the hip. I don't move the knee like that. I can turn on the ball of the back foot, but keeping the weight on the front leg. Same on the other side, and keeping the stability through the foot, like the foot's glued to the ground and the hip joints move. Another basic aspect of rotation that's less emphasized in Tai Chi at the beginning, but you'll see it in Bagua, is the turning of the waist or turning from the spine. So if we just do something like this, like holding a ball and turning through 180 degrees, or as far as you can, and just feel the upper body, spine is rotating. And sometimes in Tai Chi you'll hear the phrase turn, don't twist, or not to move your shoulders further than your hips. That's a good piece of advice, but also we want this mobility in the waist. So there's some paradoxical advice in Tai Chi. You'll see the same teachers telling you not to do that. You watch them do the form and they're turning the waist. It's probably said at the beginning just to encourage people to find the hip movement. Otherwise, they're just stuck in the upper body. But try and find this waist movement. Like you're turning a wheel is another way you could find it, turning a big wheel. And again, you could find that in a different posture. So maybe here, turn the waist. This would look like a kind of Bagua position, turning with a ball. And just feeling the waist, and then the other leg forward. So there might still be a movement in the hips, but also kind of coiling through the waist and the spine, up to the crown of the head. Okay, so that's horizontal, vertical rotation from hips, from the waist. Another aspect of rotation is like turning a screwdriver or drilling. So if you take one finger or your hand and feel like you're turning around a point, like turning a tap or turning a screw or drilling. So you can initially feel that from your wrist, then from the shoulder. You've got the inner rotation and outer rotation of both arms. So that's not circling the hands, it's drilling through the limbs, through the center. Trying to find that in your legs is more difficult because you're standing on them. But if you take the weight into one leg, and now the drill bit is the ball of your foot, try and find a point. You're not too far away, quite close. Stay on that point and drill through the ball of the foot or screwdriver. Now I could do that just from my leg, but I try and turn the whole body and maybe use the arms as well to find. It's like a whole body spiral movement that runs through both legs. Almost like your legs and your arms have a screw thread, like a DNA double helix type movement running through them. So that's a similar movement that we were just doing there, but I'm focusing on this spiral and drilling type feeling in the limbs, which connects the whole body in a more efficient way, more holistic way. So finding that drilling movement. Another movement that goes with that, which is less, again, in the styles of Tai Chi, it depends what you do. You see it more in Bagua, perhaps. When I rotate the arms, I can feel a flexion in the spine or an extension in the spine. So that position in Tai Chi sometimes called the turtle, or like a cat pose in yoga, but relating that to the spiral through the arms and through the legs. There's a whole body movement, spiraling limbs, flexing and extending through the spine. Okay, the last kind of pattern that you can think of just to map out a little bit is an idea of a circle. So when I'm rotating in Tai Chi, the arm might be moving in a circle. It doesn't mean the body is moving in a circle like that. That's not what it's about. It's more about possibly the movement of the hand, but the sense of movement through space, or a feeling like a circle moving. So as I make a circle with the hand, there's still the rotation through the joints and the spiral through the legs, but I'm doing a different movement. I'm not doing the drilling with my hand, I'm making a circle. The legs are still doing the spirals. The hips and the waist can still turn, but I'm having the concept of a horizontal circle, like a wheel or a record player. So you've got clockwise circle, anti-clockwise circle. You can do that with both hands, or you can do it with one hand. It's good to try individual hands, clockwise, anti-clockwise, and then try the other. So when we do partner work, you'll start to work with these circles or recognize them. But connecting it, not just from the shoulder, from the whole body, turning through the hips and through the waist, through the spine to make that circle. So that's a horizontal circle. You could be doing that in a parallel stance, in the bow stance, or in the cat stance. You could try and find that horizontal circle. The other main one is what we call a vertical circle, so like this one. So like a wheel turning forward or back. So you've got that movement. And that might relate more to the shifting of the weight. So one of the circles we practice in Tai Chi is this one, coming back and forward. Also described like being on a wok, like a cooking pot wok. So you're going down and then coming up, then coming back, down, slightly up and back. So that's a vertical circle in Tai Chi movement. You might occasionally see the other one where it goes up and forward. Depends on the style of Tai Chi sometimes, but you can track that circle as well, where I'm kind of coming down in the front leg, or I'm coming down more on the back leg. And then try the other side. Circle backwards, up and back. Or then circle up and forward. You could try that with one hand or two hands. So that's the horizontal circle, the vertical circle. If you imagine a ball of string, there's all sorts of different circles that you could imagine diagonal. There's also one this way, which you call coronal circle, like the sideways wheel. That's one you can try. So I'm turning this way. So in Karate Kid, it's wax on, wax off. So you can circle clockwise or anti-clockwise on the lateral circle. So that comes into a couple of Tai Chi movements. So then you could just play with the different circles. You can go horizontal or coronal or vertical and just feel the whole body moving with those movements. It might take time to connect the movement of the body to the circle. There's some coordination. So what I'm not doing is the whole thing moving necessarily the same way. Perhaps maybe on this one we are. It feels like the body's moving the same way as the circle. Here, it's a bit more like a windmill or something. You've got a wheel turning here while this one turns here. So those are essentially the main movement patterns. The other things would be like stepping and walking, but we'll cover that later. So in the first class, we're looking at loosening the joints, finding the tension and release and kind of loose, heavy feeling. This week, we're going to look at opening and kind of stretching open rather than loose. So it's the same kind of principle, but expressed differently. So the opening is now more into space rather than into the ground. So we're expanding and opening out. But it's a similar feeling of releasing tension. So you feel the tension in the fist. Rather than loosen the arm, just feel the hand open and the tendons kind of lightly stretch open. So you just open like this and just feel that opening and stretching feeling. So you can feel it run through the whole of the hand. You might feel it in the wrist as well. Then I can start to expand that into the arm. So open out, stretch out, but keep it moving. Don't hold it so much. Keep moving out and then releasing, stretching. You can go in different directions. So I can stretch forward, stretch sideways, or stretch up. And just try and expand it into more of the body, so into the chest. When I put the hands up, it's like stretching through the abdomen I could feel the back. Maybe when I stretch forward, the back opens. Just get that feeling of like an elastic band stretching. And we're trying to maybe differentiate between, last week it was more about the joints, like the elbow, the wrist. Here we're thinking more of the tissues and the fabric of the body, which runs over the bones through the joints, and it's longer than just this part here. It's extending through. So from this hand to this hand is the elastic band. It runs right through the whole upper body and up and down through the body. Front of the body, the back, the sides, the legs, the arms. So feel into the tissues. You can try different directions, different movements. We're just getting started, but we'll go through a range of different stretching and opening movements. One hand up, one hand down. You can have one hand forward, one hand going back. Left and right. Hands up or hands down or palms out. Just playing around with the feeling of opening, particularly in the upper body at the moment. Feeling it in the hands. So the feeling in the fingers, in Bagua they'll call it like dragon stretching claws. So imagine claws or the nails growing out your fingers. Okay, so we're not so much holding the stretch, like I said, you're expressing a movement like a cat stretching or a dog stretching, and then it just gets on with its life. It doesn't stand there for 20 minutes or something. So opening and just kind of expressing out and then relaxing. You could also have a feeling of pulling inwards if you want to vary the stretch. So it's like stretching in or stretching out. Okay, so now we'll start to work through more of the body. So we'll go to the feet and the legs. So maybe start, you could lean against a wall or you can just stand and start to stretch the leg away by extending the heel. So we'll just start stretching, feeling the back of the leg. Like I'm walking backwards. So I'm, again, not holding it and pulling, just expressing that movement and feeling the stretch, the elastic feeling, repeating it. You can extend the range of movement. You can open further. And then maybe try it without the wall, but as if you're leaning on the wall. And now I'm stretching this hand the opposite way. I'll use the other hand, maybe push down or stretch backwards to create an opposite direction. And feel I'm kind of stretching through the back of the body, out through the crown of the head. You can try the other arm leading and the other arm stretching back. I could also go more horizontal with the arms, like a kind of yoga position. But you might change the stance if you start to do that, so we'll get to that in a minute. But for now, we're just feeling the sort of back of the legs, back of the body. Change sides, so feel the other leg stretching away and the other hand stretching up. You could have two hands, you can lean against the wall and focus the attention on the back of the leg, back of the torso, and out to the fingers. making it bigger if you want, extending it out. Not holding it too long, just keeping it elastic and relaxed and expressive, not dead. So the problem you see in yoga is people stand in a kind of dead position, just holding. Here we're trying to express an aliveness in the stretch. So we can try that yoga position. It's called Warrior 2. You stretch out. And you can do that from one side to the other, stretching out in both directions. Again, you can extend the posture, make it longer if you want. For the hands, palm up or palm down, or palm out. Just feeling it as a movement rather than a posture or an expression of movement. You can change the movement in the hands if you like. This is kind of Bagua movements, snaking the hands in and out. Or I can stand in the center, this kind of position as well, just stretching out. Coming back to the back of the body, so this time, imagine an elastic band behind the heels, and I'm stretching up the back of the legs, up through the back of the head, out to the fingers. So I'm stretching upwards. I'll start to tilt at the hips to extend the stretch and pull the elastic a little bit. You can start very gentle, just go to there, then relax. And then re-stretch up. And then keeping the legs quite straight, not locked, keeping the spine relatively straight. Fold at the hips. Then relax. Bend the legs, relax the arms, then stretch out again. Stretch up, then tilting forward. And feel when you're stretching like you might want to make some little movements, like you're pulling on the tension or you're releasing the tension by wriggling around a little bit. Not in a contrived way, just if you feel you want to move in a non-linear way. Another problem with yoga is it gets very linear, the movements. I might come down here and then just stretch one leg or both legs, have the hands on the leg and just stretch out. So still focusing on the back of the body. Do one more. Try and stretch the core of the front a little bit here to support the spine. Now we'll focus on this front area and the core. So last week, again, we were getting heavy and relaxed and down. We're kind of doing the opposite now by stretching up. So we did talk about the upward spring and the upward direction. So if I connect to the arch of the foot again and that jumping feeling, just to engage up through the arch. Then I'll feel the arch of the legs as well. So engage up through what in Tai Chi they call the crotch arch, the arch of the pelvic floor, feel like that's stretching or pulling up arch of the foot, like a jumping or climbing up feeling. Then if you take the hands and lengthen the abdomen slightly, so feel you could stretch your belly upwards slightly until you could feel your ribs. So you've stretched up arch of the foot, pelvic floor, core, relax the back. And then if I keep that feeling of stretch, take one hand up, feel like you're reaching for something or going to pull yourself off the ground, and feel that whole stretch from the foot, pelvic floor, core. Crown of the head up to the hand. Keep the shoulder relaxed and kind of wide through the shoulders. And then just feel that poise or whatever in the body that you've created by stretching the front. Try that again. So relax and then stretch up through the legs, up through the pelvic floor, up through the core. Relax the back. You can take both hands up now. Again, feel like you're pulling up or reaching up, climbing on a rope or pulling yourself off the ground. Relax the neck and shoulders, relax the back, stretch through the front of the body. Keep the wings or the shoulders free, don't tense up, and then relax. Try that again. So pulling up the legs, pulling up the core, stretching the arms up and feeling like you're pulling off the ground. And feel with those stretches engaged what it does to your structure or your alignment without you having to stand up straight. It's got that feeling. You're not doing it through so much of the back muscles, more through the core and the center of the body. So the back can stay relaxed, the shoulders stay relaxed. And we're supporting the spine from the feet, from the pelvic floor, from the core. We'll talk about this in a structural way as well later, but it's good to introduce it. So they will stretch the back, we'll stretch the front, and sort of stretching inside. With that one, you could extend it, pulling, stretching. I could start to look up a bit and feel like I'm arching the back. So one way you can try that is against the wall. I start to walk away from the wall, maybe keep the hands there. Feel the stretch up. I'm going into the beginning of a back bend, but be careful with that. But eventually I can come further away. Don't want to overstrain the lumbar spine, so it's more like just stretching and opening chest. For the front of the body, we can do this opening as well. So like stretching the front. Different ways you can do that. So this one's described like knocking on a door, but just feel very slow, elastic feeling, not forcing it. We're stretching open this way or diagonally. The opposite of that is to open the back. So like the turtle thing, so I can open the front and stretch open the back. Here I'm thinking more of a horizontal, elastic feeling round the body rather than so much up and down. So stretch open the front and stretch open the back like a turtle. Keep it elastic and whole body, not focusing on straining the joints, more like moving, stretching the connective tissues. Okay, so that's still front and back. It's got this flexion extension, but we're doing it as a stretching opening. Thinking of the sides. So we'll take one of the movements from Bagua, which I do in the class. So we can start in a kind of Leonardo da Vinci position and then come like this across. Take the hand that comes with the foot, same side, wraps around. The top hand is going to go over your head, like you're reaching for the ground. Then open out again back into this kind of position and go to the other side. Again, not holding it, just feeling it as a stretch, elastic. Open out, come in, stretch over, open out. So in Bagua, it's called snake wraps around a pillar. So that's the tail, and that's the head of the snake striking across or over your head. But keep it relaxed and expressing the stretch through the hands. Palms can be up or down on that position. Okay, so another basic side stretching you can do is just feeling the sides without doing that, or you might just reach over. But somehow the expression of the movement feels a little bit more alive, less stuck when you're doing these movements. And the Bagua movements are very good for that feeling. Some other basic stretches for the legs. So you've got, like we did there, the calf stretch. With the wall, I can also do the kind of quad stretch if you can reach your ankle or your trousers. If you can't do that, there'll be other ways you can do that. But just feeling slight stretch at the front. Try and not wrench your knee, so feel like you're pulling the hips being sucked into your pelvis, not being pulled from the knee. Again, you might feel that stretch up through the core, and let the hand come up if you can to feel like you're pulling yourself off the ground and pulling the thigh into the hip. And you try that on the other side, either with the wall or without the wall. So I'm stretching more than just the knee, feeling the core stretch and the hand. In yoga, they'll sometimes do that further to a kind of horizontal position. But some gentle stretching or moving the knee a little bit to keep that feeling that you're feeding the hip joint back into the pelvis, into the socket. Okay, so that's the front of the legs. We've done the back of the legs. You can stretch the inner legs, not quite doing the splits, but we can go into a wider stance and starting to stretch out. If you can, hinging at the hips. And again, maybe holding the legs or touching the ground if you can. This floor is a little bit slippy, so it's quite tricky. So moving side to side. Or I can just move forward. I can go in towards a sort of dog pose or back. I can also go around from one side and come into a lunge. Obviously, you could do an entire yoga class of different stretches, but these are just some key ones. Coming round to the other side. And some of these you might not be accessible for you, but you could do a simpler version standing. So it could be just here and doing something like that. In the classes, we'll talk about horse stance and bow stance, but here it's slightly different, more like a triangle shape into a lunge. But doing it on the floor just gives you that additional stretch of the legs. There are other things that I would normally do there, but I don't want to show you too many difficult things. But from here, sometimes I'll come into like a squat position And I know some people won't be able to do this, but squatting is an important exercise or useful exercise for stretching and the legs. You can go into different squats from this position. We'll maybe look at that separately, the kind of squatting exercises. I'll show you one other one from Bagua, which is a nice stretching movement. Again, it can be done very gently or more dynamically and more difficult. And the hands are kind of piercing out, palm up, and then the palm turns down as it comes back in. So that's just the beginning of the movement. So I'm doing like that. It's one of the Bagua exercises, stretching the hand out. So that's just a part of it. So I'm reaching out. Then I'll take the inside hand, snake it around and down the leg. This hand comes down to my thigh, and the hand that's snaking down reaches towards my foot. Then I'll lift it up and pierce out to the other direction. And now I'm doing the same thing again, just a few of these movements. Then I'll snake round and reach down to the leg and then come over to the other side. Again, this might be a bit of a challenge for people. If it's difficult, just do it high. So you can start here, a few of these, and then snake down and just go, even if you just went to your knee, that would be a start, and then you turn to the other side. Snake the hand down to the knee. And over time, you might be able to sit deeper, go wider. Eventually, we're sort of sitting into the leg, sitting into this leg as the hand stretches down. You can also stretch this one out above you, and then come across. So this is the fuller, deeper version. And be very careful with that. So just go to a gentle level to begin with. Gradually, you can sit deeper, stretch further, hinging at the hips, stretching the arms out, sitting down. And there is one posture in Tai Chi that does that. The snake creeps down. Okay, so the standing postures from yoga practice are quite useful, some of them, for Tai Chi. So we already did this kind of warrior two. We had a look at that. So that's called warrior two. It's like a long lunge and both hands going out. They could be palm up or down. And you see that in Bagua in one of the palm changes. Again, you could start small, go further, and go left and right. So you've got this counter stretch of the back hand. So that's a nice position. From here, I can do a sort of side stretch. So I'll take this hand up. That might be enough. So again, start easy and then extend. To go further, I can extend the legs. I can rest the arm on the leg and stretch like a line from the foot to the hand. Some people might be able to go down to the floor, but there's no need to do that. Here is fine. So that's warrior two into side stretch. I can also do this one, so turn to the front foot and stretch the arms up. So that's more like warrior one. Or I could be pushing, stretching out, or just playing around with those positions. I could take the arms out to the sides, stretching up. opening out. And then whatever you're doing, try on the other side. So it can be one hand up, can be more upright, or start to tilt, stretch. You can go deeper if you want. I'm not thinking of it so much as like a yoga class where it's holding postures. Feel them more like movement patterns and play around with them more. Hands up. So this is like warrior one. But you can change the hand positions. I could take one hand forward. This is from Tai Chi, brush knee and twist step. There's another one from Chinese martial arts, which goes with those nicely. So it's kind of like the brush knee and twist step position, but I start to coil the arms. So in Tai Chi, it looks like that, but then I turn this hand this way and push out. I'm turning this hand the other way and pushing back behind me. And I'm stretching forward and stretching the stance, pushing the arms in opposite directions. That might be enough. Again, here's an easy version. I can lengthen it out. And then I can hinge at the hip. So the full version you see in the Chinese martial arts, the torso starts to hinge till it's almost horizontal and the arms are stretching and you look backwards. You can be in the ball of the foot or the heel down. That's quite challenging. You can do it this way as well. So I'm on the same side. So this is a reverse position. This is the same side position. And you can go between those two. Again, keeping it easy. I'm kind of snaking the hands around. So these are in Bagua as well, these kind of positions. And that feeling of snaking the hands and stretching the arms helps you get the feeling of the whole body being elastic, not just locking the arms out. We can try that on the other side. So it's from the brush knee and twist step, or like warrior one position, pushing forward, coiling the arm round, pushing out. The other arm turns the opposite way and pushes behind you. So it's like that from behind. Start easy. Careful with your shoulders and things so you can articulate that coiling and twisting in the arms. You can start to stretch forward and back. And if you want, you can hinge the hips. What I'm not doing is turtle. I'm not doing the turtle with spine or cat. I'm keeping the spine as straight as possible. And then I can go to the other side and do the slightly easier version that way. Go between the two. So it's called descending dragon in Yichuan, this posture. That one looks similar to in Tai Chi, what's called slant flying. And this is like brush knee and twist step. So you've got those two positions. So that's given you quite a range of things. You can also work on the floor. We'll maybe do a separate video on that where you can stretch on the floor. And if you're practicing Tai Chi or in a class, you might not do all of those. You might just do a couple, just to give you a whole range of things to look at. So aside from just range of movement and flexibility, the stretching is partly how you create the structure. So in the older styles of Tai Chi, like they would have these large, big, stretched out postures. What that's also doing is creating a clear feeling of connection. So this arm is connected, there's an engagement, the legs are engaged. Harder to feel if you're doing this style of Tai Chi. So it's like stretching, opening, creating the connections through the tissues, like pulling on a rope, or they call it pulling silk. So pulling silk means stretching and connecting the connective tissues. And these big stretched out movements give you that feeling of connecting and stretching out the body. It's also from a kind of chi point of view, or that kind of point of view, it's like opening the holding patterns or the contraction. You're creating release and open through stretch, like stretching out a knot, releasing it out. Okay, so the general feeling of releasing we're talking about is tension can be released through loosening, but it can also be released through expanding and stretching. And there's a kind of more subtle version, which is just like if you have the fist clenched, you release inside. So it's like the stretching of the surface of a balloon or a water droplet. So it's not overtly stretching, but it's just expanding and opening, like a balloon filling up. So that's like the surface of the body stretches open, not so obviously, but internally, and creates a fullness and a three-dimensional openness. We'll talk about that in another class.